Alrighty, so we're live. Hi everybody, welcome to the ONOS Sparrow release milestone review. This is a public and recorded meeting. So the point of the review is just to review progress. We're roughly in the middle of the way through the Sparrow release, which is due to release at the end of August, and feature freeze is in the beginning part of August. So the idea is to get an update as to where we are with kind of various key features. And platform-wise, the objectives were actually fairly modest. The whole point was to see if you can get the JDK 11 build working, keep up to date on platform updates with the latest Karaf and third-party library releases, and then primarily the rest of the development was going to be just application drivers and things surrounding the platform. So with that, let's move to the core and platform. I'll leave it to Carmelo and Ray to provide an update, at least on the first part of it. Is that right?
Yeah.
You wanna go, Carmelo, first?
Yeah, I can start. So what we did for this first milestone is we updated a number of third-party dependencies using ONOS, such things like protobuf, gRPC, EasyMox, I can remember. And on top of that, few minor code modifications that enabled us to build with JDK 11. So now the official language source and target version for building ONOS, it's 11. It's no longer Java 8. On top of this, we also bumped the minimum required version of Bazel to 27. And the reason is that by using Bazel 27, we can now build and run ONOS using the Bazel provided so-called remote JDK, meaning that you no longer need to have a JDK installed in your machine, or if you have one, it will be ignored. But Bazel will download a version of the JDK that's suitable for your platform to build and run ONOS. So to make this possible, we change a number of Bazel targets, Bazel rules and actions implementations to make use of the Bazel provided JDK and Java tools like jar instead of the one installed into the system.
And you'll demo some of that later.
Yeah, and I'll demo this later. Yeah.
So, quick question on you mentioned target and you also mentioned source.
Yeah.
So we've enabled language 11 constructs as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So from now you can use Java 11 language constructs.
Okay. So
as part of ONOS. Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So no way back to 8. Because once people start using language constructs, right?
Yeah.
That's it. We're latched in. Yeah, that's good. That's good, actually. Cool. Very nice. Is there any Karaf updates, Ray? Or not yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I want to upgrade. We're on, I forget the exact numbers, we're on like 0.5, and I want to upgrade to 0.6, which is the current one.
4.2.6.
4.2.5.
4.2.5, 4.2.6.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Also, we have a summer intern, actually a couple of summer interns here. They're working on application registry as well as on which is basically like a lightweight portal for tracking the various, the built-in apps as well as off-world apps, ONOS apps. This is backed by a GitHub repository, currently has a small REST API and a simple web UI to be able to see what's in the registry. Currently it's hosted on API onosproject.org, but we will actually set up a new subdomain called apps.onosproject.org and we'll host it on there. It'll be HTTPS when that happens. So Anton has been working on that and he's going to give a demo at the end of the meeting. And Arnav is working on the ONOS side. He's enhancing the application subsystem. Now this work is currently still under development. He's enhancing the application subsystem to be able to download the catalog of registered applications which are relevant for the current running version of ONOS. And basically, this will allow the operator to pick and choose from applications and install them, download them, and install and activate them on in their deployment. This is similar to what you have like with Jenkins plugins or other type of package managers. And this will be a precursor to basically shrinking down the size of the ONOS package, because there's no need now for us to ship all of the built-in apps, especially when there's some of the more peripheral ones. Deployments will still be able to download them if they want to. Now, just to clarify, the idea is not to actually host the binaries for those applications, but rather just provide a registry with pointers to the repositories which are hosting them. Also, another thing is this is intended to support the current version of ONOS as well as the future micro ONOS versions. Now, obviously, the types of images that will be tracked will be different, because today the applications are shipped as OR files, ONOS application archives, which are hosted on Maven Central. So the URLs here will be pointing to Maven Central. And in the future, the applications most likely will come in form of Docker images or Helm charts. And in that case, the URLs will be pointing to those resources. So that work is, so the portal is done, the application is being enhanced, and this will definitely be part of the ONOS 2.2. And Anton will give a demo at the end, as I said. All right. P4 runtime and GMI stuff.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of many improvements with regards to the support for the protocols before GNMI, but rather we have some improvements on Fabric.P4. We have initial support for the BNG offloading functionality integrated with the Fabric.P4 pipeline. In this case, we support termination for tunnels using queuing queues, so double VLAN tags and PPPO headers. This is the work that is being done as part of exploration for BNG offloading as part of SIBA. We also added support for actions in the ACL tables, like clone to CPU by using P4 runtime clone sessions. And also we enabled continuous integration on Fabric P4 test, which is the project hosting the data plane unit test for Fabric.P4 based on PTF. So every time these are run daily, so and gives us the possibility to keep track of where things are with Fabric.P4. We also transitioned the development environment from being VM based to Docker based. So before, if you want to work on P4 support in ONOS, you have to download this huge VM. No, we have different Docker containers that allow you to work on that. So we have one container called P4MN that it's essentially a Minet enabled, a P4 runtime enabled Minet running on Docker. Uses BMV2 simple switch gRPC as a default switch. Similarly, we containerized the P4C compiler for BMV2. There's also a version of the P4MN container, so Minet on Docker for Stratum. But this is private right now, only accessible to Stratum members. It will be open sourced when Stratum will be open source. And also we have a Docker image to run the PTF-based unit test for Fabric.P4.
And the open sourcing of Stratum is expected to happen before the release, right? It's sometimes August, right?
Yes.
Approximately.
Yeah, the quiet open source release,
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Carmelo. Okay, ODTN. Raven, Sparrow, right, Andrea?
Oops, that was my fault. Sorry. So yeah, what we did was we augmented the OpenConfig drivers with capabilities to do power configuration. Fujitsu added some drivers for their own transponders. We had a very nice capability of handling bidirectional intent on pair ports in optical equipment. As you guys might know, sometimes optical equipment doesn't have bidirectional ports. meaning that one port is only transmitting or only receiving. So to create a bidirectional intent, you have to know that you're going out on port 1 and you're going back for the same channel actually on port 2. So we added this annotation to the ports, which is pair port, and that is taken into account in the optical connectivity intent to make sure that if a bidirectional intent is asked, we are computing the path properly according to this pair port annotation. There was also an OpenROADM 2.2 driver contribution that enables ONOS to control a standard OpenROADM 2.2 compliant device. That's yet to be merged, but the reviews are done. I expect that to happen in the next week or so. So I just wanted to include it because it's a very major thing that I'm very happy that the ODTN community contributed. We also enhanced and ported to a distributed cache the Lumentum ROADM 20 drivers. The same distributed cache is used in the TAPI drivers and the OpenROADM drivers to store some of the configuration that needs to happen and needs to be distributed because of cluster failover scenarios. Thanks to Buyan, who did the bulk of the work, we ported the OpenROADM app to GUI 2 and also extended it to allow visualization of ports, power, and other details of transponders that we got from OpenConfig. It's a major milestone. The idea is to basically move the OpenROADM app to be a generic optical GUI that shows power, wavelength, configuration, stuff like that for the optical devices, transponder ROADMs, and OpenLine systems. We did some bug fixes in TAPI, netconf, and REST providers, and the Cassini drivers. It was minor stuff, but the more we do testing, the more we find things out. We did some fixing also of the master strip handling in dynamic configuration subsystem, which is part of the work which I hope to get done before the release, which is having the TAPI northbound being capable of being deployed on a 3-node instance ONOS and achieve a consistent result. I've been working with Jordan with that. There's some back and forth, and we'll try to get it done by the end of August, by the feature freeze, which is the 9th of August. And we also, not really related to ONOS itself, but we did contribute open source simulators that enabled us testing, that enable us to find out those bugs that I mentioned before, and those are emulators for OpenConfig and TAPI, and we're currently building the OpenROADM 1 to test the OpenROADM drivers. That was all from myself. Any questions?
This is great, Andrea. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Okay, so QA.
Okay, so we have some major refactoring in the test automation structure, specifically in Jenkins for QA. So the list of all test-on tests, the test schedule per ONOS branch, and nodes to run a given test are now provided in a single file. So it's now easy to go in and change whatever branch you want to run on a specific day. This is all located in one file. There are also 2 supporting files which allow a schedule name to be mapped to certain days. So if we could map the name weekdays to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We can map ONOS 1 support branch to run on Saturday, ONOS 2 support branch to run on Sunday. For those illiterate with JSON files, this is also posted on the wiki as a timetable for each test, located in system test plans and results, general testing information, and automated test schedule. There's more flexibility in running multiple ONOS branches for the same test. So depending on how many nodes you have, it's actually possible to be able to run multiple branches on a single night. Right now, we do that with our fabric tests. For the segment routing test, we run master 2.1 and 1.15 on 3 separate nodes per night. Given an ONOS branch, the appropriate version of Bazel is installed for building ONOS in an environment setup. So we use race script from the CA management to determine what Bazel version to install before running the tests. And we wanted to make this structure in mind of it being potentially migrated for automated testing in micro-ONOS as well. Since micro-ONOS is most likely going to have test cases, most likely going to have branches, and it's most likely going to have nodes. So we wanted to be able to port this to micro-ONOS as well.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Awesome. All right. I think that's it. I think normally we also have an update on the GUI section, but I think that has been stable for some time. Plus, also Sean is on vacation, so if you do have any updates, you'll have to wait for next time. All right. So, Carmelo, do you want to take that first with the JDK stuff?
I think I already have presented rights. All right, so what I'll demonstrate today is how to build run ONOS using Bazel 27 and JDK 11. So what I'll do first, I demonstrate how to build ONOS in a minimal environment. In this case, I'm showing a Docker file that I use to build my environment. It's based on Ubuntu 18. I installed very few dependencies. These are required. These are things required, for example, by Bazel, like zip, Python, Git. As you can see, there's no JDK installed in this environment. I installed Bazel. I cloned the ONOS repo, and I built ONOS. So this is my Ubuntu-based environment. As you can see, there is no Java command, there's no Java-C command, but I can still build ONOS. Now, clearly, it took only 1.4 seconds because I'm using the cache results from the previous build. So to verify that I'm actually building with JDK 11, we can take, we can examine one of the class files produced by the Java compiler. In this case, I'm examining the device class file. And we can see that this file has major version 55, which is the number used to identify Java 11 builds.
So this Java equals 52, yeah.
Exactly. So how is this working? In ONOS, we have, in the ONOS root repo, we have this file called Bazel RC, that I can't find, this one, which is looked up by Bazel to set up some build time or test time or runtime arguments. So we can take a look at this Bazel RC file. As we can see, the first 4 lines of this file define 4 build arguments that specify the Java base and the Java toolchain. Essentially, this is used to specify the JDK needed to build your project. And the Java toolchain, you can see that as the configuration of the JDK. In this case, we are pointing to other Bazel targets that are part of the ONOS project itself. So let's take a look at this file called tools build JDK, where we define these targets. So this is where we define essentially the JDK to use and the Java toolchain to use to build ONOS. So the JDK, the default JDK target is essentially an alias to a Bazel provided remote JDK. Remote JDK here means that this is actually downloaded from the internet the first time you build the project. Bazel uses OpenJDK builds provided by Azure systems. And the Java toolchain, this is where we define the source, the language source and target version. So this is where we actually say that we expect source files written with Java 11 language constructs, and we want to produce Java 11 compatible class files. All right. Now, so we can build ONOS. Now, let's show that we can also run it using the Bazel provided JDK. Now, for simplicity, I'm moving to my macOS based OS system. What I have here is the usual Bazel run ONOS local command. Let's start. So I'll stop here for a second. As you can see, this command, what it does, it creates a script called ONOS runner that starts the ONOS service. And one of the first step done as part of the script is actually unpacking the same JDK that was used to build ONOS is unpacked in a temporary directory, and it's used to run ONOS. So I'll start again. Now clearly I'm using the previously unpacked JDK. So ONOS is running. I didn't mention that, but I'm running a set of applications to do end-to-end test using P4 switches. So while ONOS is running, I can also start Mininet. For this demo, I'm using one of the Docker image that I mentioned before. So I have an alias in my system called P4MN. We can take a look. P4MN is essentially an alias that calls the Docker image that I was talking about before. So this is like a Mininet command that in this case is running on my OS system, macOS. Can take Mininet arguments like topology. In this case, I'm starting a Mininet topology with only one switch. Okay, I started Mininet. Next, I want to show something. I want to make sure I'm running on JDK 11. So this is the ONOS CLI. We can use the caraf info command to show that here we are. The JVM we're running on, it's based on OpenJDK 11 provided by Azure Systems. Now, to make sure runtime works, let's do end-to-end test. So I'm going to push a netcfg file that is produced by my Mininet Docker container, which produces netcfg file for every switch instance. So I push this file to ONOS. The switch is discovered by ONOS, and I can finally click on it. That works. Very cool.
Nice. That's awesome. A huge leap here.
How many months did it take us to get this done?
Yeah.
Well, what happened really is that they finally fixed a number of things with Bazel 27. In theory, you had support for Java 11, JDK 11, and previous versions of Bazel, but it was much harder to get to that result with Bazel versions prior to 27.
I mean, it clearly took some chipping away, right? I think JDK 11 released in September last year or something like that.
Yeah.
And then progressively more and more projects started to address the Java 11 or start remove the Java 8 dependencies. But then still took some tenacity on your part to definitely push through the last push. That's great. Now, just to be clear, there's still a few more things to take care of, right, with respect to cryo, right?
Well, yeah, first of all, we didn't do any deep testing. So I guess
this is where we definitely be leaning on QA. Yeah.
it's I'll leave it to QA to find the nasty, issues. We have some at this point minor issues, some third-party dependencies like cryo. They don't fully support Java 11. So with JDK 11, some classes that were previously available with previous version of Java, like Java 8, like the unsafe classes, are being deprecated. Cryo still relies on these classes, but those are still enabled with JDK 11. So what you usually get is a warning at runtime using these classes. I mean, things work, but if we don't update cryo with future releases of JDK, things might not work. And I'm working with Jordan to see if we can fix this and bump to the next version of cryo.
Okay, so to clarify, it's going to continue work for some time because we have sort of grace period that we're on probation, right? And we have to act within that probationary period in order for things not to break.
I don't expect Cryo 4, which is the current version of Cryo we used, to break with JDK 11. I think unsafe classes, which are the one that are being deprecated will eventually be disallowed in next releases of JDK. So JDK 12, 15.
Right, exactly. So we have some area. Okay.
And since JDK 11 is LTS,
We have some time.
let's
Okay.
So was it the same thing for we had some problems with the protobuf compiler spitting out things that also use these forbidden packages?
Yes.
The same kind of thing?
Yeah, so the protobuf compiler was updated to now generate Java classes that are compatible with Java.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's great. This is awesome. Thank you, Carmel. That's great.
Just one quick question. Does it change anything if you want to do offline compiling? Assuming I have a local copy of OpenJDK 11,
Mhm.
it shouldn't require internet access to compile my code base, right?
Well, you always need internet access for the first time
Yes.
you build ONOS because you need to pull dependencies.
That's how I already have those, assuming.
So once
that
you
means-
build once, you're good because your cache has been primed.
Including the JDK.
Yes.
Okay.
But you
So that's basically the same as what we have currently.
Yes,
Basically,
yes.
yes.
The JDK is essentially treated as a
So just
But-
a first time thing.
But
Okay.
if you have not built with Bazel and you have let's say you have a image, installable image of
a bunch of
JDK,
library, right?
installing the JDK is not going to help you because it's
there are still a lot of dependencies in libraries.
exactly, and
Yeah.
including the JDK.
And you can still use another JDK that is already installed in your OS system. To do that, you will need to modify this
The RC
Bazel
file.
RC file
Yeah.
and point to I can give instruction essentially point to a local installation of the JDK.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
maybe
You
you
also
should,
have to set up you have to set
Put
up.
an example here. Maybe just comment it out so people can edit it if they want to.
There is more to it than that. You have to have a Bazel file, right? Also, a build file that would indicate that would describe the tool chain, right?
No, I think it's just a matter of changing this Bazel RC file.
Already?
The Java. I have to double check.
Okay.
But I recommend building using the Bazel part of JDK. Again, it's treated as any other dependency. So after the first time you build ONOS, the JDK is cached. You're good to go.
Is that part of the Bazel feature using remote JDK?
Yes.
This is great. Thank you. All right, Anton, are you ready?
Yeah.
Let me pass you presenter rights.
Okay, cool. So here we have the app registry. This is just the front end portal. So you can see it's on api.onosmatic.org/applications. And so we can see over here we have like a version selector. So this is for selecting the version of ONOS that you're on. So right now this is obviously like all, and then I can select just the ones that are compatible with 1.15, just the ones that are compatible with 2.0 and 2.1. And then I can click on this to get the OR file. So this is just like a listing for easy access to see all the apps. And then for the REST API, it's on the route API/applications. And so you can see all the different fields and all the versions of it. So it's keyed by the actual application version, and then you also have the version of ONOS that it's compatible with, and of course the OR file. And so we're hoping that we can expand this for micro ONOS as well, and to put like Docker images on it as well. So this would just be a large application registry for everything. And so I can also query by ID. So if I take ID here, I can just find a specific ID, and then I can also query by ONOS version. So to just find the apps that support 2.1 or like 1.15, I can query that. And then so for third-party contributions, so it's all based on the GitHub apps folder. So inside the apps folder, there's a bunch of individual JSON files, and we decided that it was best to have them individual instead of just a single file because it would allow for easy pull requests and easy maintenance for third parties to add their own apps into the registry. And so it would just be using GitHub pull requests. And then when you run npm start on the actual server, it'll just compile it all into one big JSON that it reads from. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and for right now, we decided to keep the code that hosts the portal as well as the REST API together in the same registry where the apps are being registered as well, just for simplicity. If that ever needs to be, if you ever need to change the backing, then we can change that.
How is the portal deployed? Is this a
Um,
GitHub feature or?
No, right now it's just running on an AWS instance.
Yeah, we figured we wanted to do, has fairly low traffic, we expect at least initially, reasonably low traffic, right? So we wanted to avoid incurring costs, both financial as well as the labor costs for maintaining another AMI instance. So we hosted it on the same machine where API docs are already hosted. And basically, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, do you want to describe how we do anytime you change the portal, let's say I've asked recently Anton to enhance the portal a little bit, and he changed the code and it auto deploys, right?
Yeah. So anytime someone pushes to the GitHub repo, we have a GitHub webhook that will send to the server, and it'll automatically pull the new apps and restart itself with the new apps.
From the AWS instance.
Yeah, and that this means changes, both the code changes to the portal itself as well as changes to the application content. So that kind of keeps it free of maintenance, reasonably free of maintenance.
No gatekeepers. You don't need to.
No, yeah. So the only gatekeepers here, at least initially, would be manual reviews of the pull requests, right? So that we can check the sanity of the applications at least visually. But the idea is also that we will add a CI step to it that can possibly also do some varying depth of validation for the application. For example, we could check validity of the JSON, first of all. Does it make sense? Does it comply with the JSON schema? Are the URLs that are listed live? For example, because there's a URL for more information about the apps. That needs to respond. We don't expect not to give us 404s, right? Also, is the URL to the OR application live? Can we actually download it? Potentially, we could also do ignite in a Docker image the version of ONOS that this claims it is for, and load the app. And if the app doesn't load, well, then we can say no, it can't go.
Based on the compatible version.
Exactly, based on compatible version of this. So we can do increasing depth of validation. So this is, areas for future enhancements and
I think we
improvements.
already have the JSON schema in the unit test already.
Oh, it's already being validated. That's great. Okay.
Cool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. We've added that. Nice. That's great. Great job, Anton. And we'll get a demo when it's ready from ON.Lab about the server side.
I merged it. You just have to check it.
Perfect. Okay. And this will be the ONOS side of pulling from this portal. Hey, thank you again. This is great. I think that concludes our demos. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions for the release?
Is it confirmed that this is going to be an LTS? I didn't see that in the slide.
So yes, that's a great question actually. I mean, it probably not going to designate it. We're probably going to wait to decide until we've released it. But kind of my anticipation is that this is a third 2.0 release. It's almost a year from releasing 1.15. My suspicion is that this deserves an LTS.
It sounds like there's still a little bit of uncertainty, and I'm just wondering what is the gap we have that.
Well, so there's a couple of things with the LTS, right? We don't want to designate we want to make sure we space them out, right? So generally they've been spaced out by a year. 12 is a year away from 15.
Yeah.
This is approximately also a year away from 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite. It's like 11 months, right? And also one of the things is it's the platform. The initial 2.0 was a huge jump,
Yes.
and there were a few things that were unfinished, and even though things were working, there were still.
Yeah, I guess my question is that is there any unfinished, like big major stuff here such that you're not.
I don't think so,
Comfortable
other than the
to-
grace
yeah.
period with the cryo stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. But I think that
Which
to
is,
me,
I don't think it's blocking right
it's
now.
not exactly.
Just an annoying warning.
Yeah.
It's not blocking. I guess it's
Okay.
mostly QA assessment.
Exactly.
So,
I
That's
think
essential.
we will hold
Okay.
off till QA. You know,
Right.
so far at least the indications on performance regressions don't seem to be any, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen any. That's good.
All right.
Yeah, so I think this will be an LTS release, but decision is still to be made. That's a good question. All right. If there's no other questions or suggestions, I think we can call it a day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye, Andreas.